Hey everybody, it's Adam Tracy, and I want to do a quick video on certificates of designation. And for those of you that don't know, a certificate of designation is a document which defines the rights and privileges of a particular class of stock, typically like a preferred stock, not a common stock. And going back to pre-crypto days when I was big into small cap, micro cap stock, this was a huge issue because people were going around and they were selling, Series A preferred stock with all these bells and whistles, but there was no certificate of designation anywhere, especially when filed with the state of incorporation that said, hey, this is what the rights and privileges associated with the share of stock that you just bought actually are. So as you can imagine, when push came to shove or something happened, there was a buyout, a bankruptcy, whatever the case may be, shit hit the fan because nobody really knew what they had because it wasn't codified anywhere, right? So now fast forward, okay, and you've got tokenized securities, you've got real world assets, tokenized, this whole nine yards. And we're running into the same problem, right? Because it's something that people overlook all the time. And the proper way to do it is to have the board of directors approve it. I'll obviously have it drafted properly. So it includes dividend, voting, redemption, liquidation preferences, the whole nine yards, right? Have the board of directors approve it and then file it with the state, right? Now, filing with the state is helpful, perhaps not entirely mandatory, but it is proof that you actually did it when you did it. So I would encourage you to do it. So in the absence thereof, right, nobody really knows what they have, right? And it's all anecdotal and kind of a mess. So in the crypto space, which tends to be, at least in my experience, a little more fast and loose than the real world security space, nobody's really doing this. And I would suggest that you do it. Now, the trick is, in many cases, you see tokenized securities come in the form of a DAO. And that's fine, right? But typically with a limited liability company, you don't necessarily file a certificate of designation. That's inherent in the operating agreement, right? Which isn't something that you would file because it's a partnership, it's private, so on and so forth. I would encourage you to file it anyway. And overwhelmingly states will allow you to file it because then it's record. Then it's proof that it actually was prepared, signed, and endorsed at the time you say it was, right? And for like a Wyoming DAO, they will accept that filing. Okay. And I'll put an example of one that may or may not be applicable to whatever you're doing, but it's a good example. And so the cautionary tale and the takeaway about certificates of designation is that if you do not have one, right, as long as everything's going along well and whatever you say, right, that the purchaser, the holders of these securities are to receive are getting that, it never becomes a problem. But in the real world, as you know, especially in crypto, it almost always becomes a problem. And so when it becomes a problem, then it looks like fraud. Then it looks like all these things that it may not be, but you have no proof to the contrary because you just simply didn't take the time to write it down, right? And that's really all it is. A simple delineation of rights and privileges, a board of directors resolution, and if you want to pay the $60, right, and you can afford it and file it with Wyoming, then the shit won't hit the fan when the shit, in fact, hits the fan. So that is certificates of designation, why they are wildly overlooked. They're overlooked in like on NASDAQ companies screw this up all the time. So it's not like this isolated thing to crypto. I see it all the time, but it is a cautionary tale and it is a exceedingly simple thing to do. So certificates of designation. I'll put a sample one up on my website, adamtracy.io. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.